In January 1961, the spiritual record known as the Agenda begins not with a profound revelation, but with a complaint about paperwork. She was trapped in the administrative grind of running an ashram, struggling to find a single hour to translate her texts. Her physical reality was one of exhaustion. She faced a mountain of unread letters and a constant stream of visitors. 700 people often gathered at the courtyard gates, pulling on her attention before she could even leave her room. This environment forced her to confront the darker patterns of human nature daily. She watched as her followers disguised their vital anger as righteous wrath, using moral justifications to protect their own egos while claiming to serve a higher purpose. To her, this suffocating, crowded humanity was the actual laboratory. Escaping into the silence of the mountains was irrelevant. The transformation she sought had to happen here, in the middle of the mess. She distinguished her work from the traditional, negative way of the ascetic. While a monk might achieve purity by refusing to acknowledge ugliness or evil, her goal was an active, positive intervention that could bridge the gap between spiritual light and material squalor. The required tool was a white flame of supreme love. She described this as the only force capable of melting down physical resistance and sublimating it into something pure without destroying the existing form in the process. But the material world is rigid. She warned that if this concentrated force were to manifest directly on Earth, it would act like an explosion because the physical substance of our reality isn't supple enough to widen to its measure. This mechanical resistance required a human physical body to act as a bridge. A person would consciously hold that universal force within their biological structure, serving as a living shock absorber for a power matter usually rejects. As she pushed for this breakthrough, she experienced a violent psychological pushback. She described internal hurricanes and artificial thunderstorms, surreal, mechanical storms designed by the forces ruling matter to block her from returning to her spiritual home. The battle manifested physically as a total breakdown of her body's systems. She endured headaches that felt like boiling oil inside her skull, cramped nerves in the nape of her neck, and a heart that stopped for seconds at a time before pounding back to life. During this crisis, she encountered a symbolic temptation from material nature herself. She was offered a dusty, pink marble bathtub, a metaphor for settling into the comfortable, established realizations of the past, instead of pushing into the unknown. These dusty realizations were linked to the ancient pre-Vedic traditions she was actively studying. They were beautiful and high, but they were static artifacts of a previous era. She rejected the offer. Her mission was to move past historical enlightenments, to force a physical mutation in the present, even if it meant remaining in a state of constant, dangerous struggle. The climax arrived at midnight on January 24th. While lying flat in bed, she felt an uncomfortably compact power flood her being, growing so intense that it seemed to spill over the boundaries of her skin. Her body consciousness turned into a single, immobile block of rapid vibration. She remained wide awake, hearing the clock's chime, as her physical form became a silhouette of brilliant white light. Without any physical movement, her cellular consciousness began to rise. She specifically noted that this was not the traditional ascent of the Kundalini through spinal centers, but the entire block of her physical substance mounting to meet its source. Upon reaching that junction, the consciousness dropped back down. It didn't reorganize her centers one by one. It struck every point simultaneously, from head to foot, aligning every cell with the new vibration. At exactly 1 a.m., the process ended. She had successfully anchored a new supramental force into a human biological structure, completing the first step of a permanent material transformation. She emerged from this experience claiming a categorical change in how her body functioned. This was no longer just a shift in her mind, but a fundamental alteration of her physical capabilities. Evidence of this appeared shortly after when she fell painfully ill. In the past, this would be an all-consuming experience, but now her consciousness split in two. One part of her perceived the biological disorder of the illness with clinical precision, yet simultaneously she felt zero suffering. The cellular reorganization of January 24th had created a detachment where she could observe physical pain as an objective event that no longer touched her. This internal mastery over her own cells soon extended to the world around her. She found she could influence external events through the same direct application of her will. When a follower sought help against a psychic attack, she didn't offer a prayer or ritual. She simply took a letter, identified the specific forces at play, and methodically ripped the paper 5 times to dissolve the threat's power at its source. The breakthrough at midnight had fundamentally redefined the relationship between her will and matter. Because her cells were now unified with the source of all vibration, her physical actions carried a new, decisive weight that annulled resistance automatically. This cellular work changes the goal of spiritual practice. Traditional devotion often focuses on a personal relationship with the divine, seeking an individual peace that leaves the suffering of the physical world untouched. Her experience on January 24th redefined the concept of omnipotence as a 2-stage realization of the supreme will. The first stage is a shift in vision, the perception that at every second, every detail in the universe unfolds exactly as it should. The second stage is the capacity to pair that vision with the direct power to transform that reality. It is the ability to see the world as it is while possessing the internal frequency to change it at the level of the atom. The purpose of spiritual life is to pull the highest possible consciousness down into the very cells of the body. By changing the vibration of the individual human structure, she believed she could begin to cure the world's evil from the inside out.